Back to set today, Tom Calter, who is the town administrator for the town of Kingston. Welcome.
Hey, Jules. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, Jules. Thanks for inviting me remotely so I can be involved with this discussion.
Yeah, good to see you. We had you when you were first put into this position about a year and a half ago.
Right.
A lot has happened in Kingston in a year and a half.
A lot of great stuff. Time is flying.
Yeah.
It has been. Tom Calter. Tom, you've been in this position for the last year and a half, and a lot has happened. We've had the highest legal fees ever. I think it was close to $250,000. We've had a 14-year town employee got fired for no reason at all other than being set up by yourself and of course Brad Norman. There's quite a lot of other things going on in the year and a half you've been here. The little temper tantrums that you have, your verbal assault on me in town hall back in January, of which you got your town councils to turn it all around, make me the bad guy. But we'll let that go because you are Tom Calter and you can get things done. So let's go further on and see what you have to say, Tom.
So let's get right into it. Kingston is clearly on the move in terms of economic development. There's no doubt about it. So what are some of the projects that are coming up that are really exciting, and how are they going to impact the town?
Well, let me start with the second part of that first. It's going to impact the town significantly, Julie. In 1995, our commercial tax base was about 25% of our total levy.
Mm-hmm.
Today it's 11%.
Tom, I don't know why you're going back to 1995. That's 24 years ago. And you're saying that the tax base for commercial is 25%. Now it's 11%. So to me, that says that the commercial base has not increased, but the residential base has. And along with that is a lot more increase in services. And of course, we have to buy the best of everything. It just can't be, our town trucks gotta have the best. They can't be turn handles. They gotta be electric windows. But we gotta get the best of everything. So, that's part of the reason why commercial base has decreased, because of the increase of the residents. And right now, we're building houses left and right. We have
Now, the result of that has been an upward increase in residential taxes.
Sure.
And our citizens have noticed.
Yeah.
And it's unsustainable.
Absolutely.
Tom, it's funny you say it's unsustainable because of the increases of taxes, but prior to you coming on as town administrator, and of course the way you was able to come on as town administrator through your typical backdoor political ways of getting the job, and I only say that because I knew a month before they voted you in for the job that I knew you were getting the job. So, but to say that the taxes, are unsustainable, we hire people that we didn't need. We hired a human resource director part-time. We hired a facilities manager part-time. We hired an IT manager part-time. Within 6 months, they were full-time. Now, they're averaging over $80,000 a person. Why? Why are we? That's where our taxes are coming in. We're spending a lot of money on new equipment and hiring people that we don't need and giving them, think about it, in fiscal year 2019 to fiscal year 20, these people I named off, and the accountant who got into to be the finance director, she's making over $103,000 a year. For what? But all these people from fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20 got almost an 8% increase in their salaries. Why? Yet, you had the town clerk, tax collector, and the town treasurer had gotten less than 3%. Can you explain that to me, Tom, please?
Absolutely.
So my charge when I was hired was to build a commercial industrial tax base. And the key to doing that is to expand our wastewater treatment plant so we can provide storage capacity for those new commercial businesses that are coming to town.
So you have to do.
You gotta love that building a $28 million sewer expansion is the key to bringing in commercial businesses. That's going to increase or decrease the taxes, the residential taxes. I think you need to rethink that, Tom.
So you have to do the infrastructure first.
Infrastructure is key.
Yeah.
It's water and wastewater.
Yeah.
So town meeting generously approved the authorization for borrowing.
You know, Tom, you come out and say that town meeting generously voted to have this $28 million sewer expansion. They didn't generously do it. We had 150, 160 people, maybe 200 the tops, that voted out of 9,000. Yes, it would be nice if more people came there to vote. But in May of 2019, I had put a petition article in there to have all the articles that have this kind of effect on Kingston, financial effect on Kingston, that they should be put on a ballot as ballot questions when we have our town elections. This way here we'll have 1,000 people voted on it. So please don't make it sound like the whole town's for this, because it's not the whole town. It's the 140, 150, 160 people that show up out of 9,000 registered voters that will vote on our 50 million plus budget.
We're in the engineering and design stage now. We'll be out to bid in early spring.
Okay.
And we'll be in the ground by summer of next year.
You know, that amazes me. I have never seen any kind of construction of that magnitude that is gonna be started in the spring and finished 3 months later. Of this magnitude, you're talking out your butt, Tom, okay? There's no way that's gonna happen.
At the same time, on a parallel course, not a day goes by where I'm not sitting with a CEO of a major company that views Kingston as the most suitable location for their business. We've got 3 exits off of Route 3.
Yeah.
We're within a stone's throw of the MBTA station.
Yeah.
We've got incredibly undeveloped and underdeveloped industrial commercial property that is prime for their location. So we're being very selective. We're not.
Now, Tom, that's funny. Yeah, that's really funny. Not a day goes by that you don't sit down with a CEO of a business that's interested in coming to Kingston. That's comical, because that means every day you're out talking to somebody who's been waiting just for you to get into office to come to Kingston. And of course, the $28 million sewer expansion is gonna be the magical move to bring all these businesses in. And of course, you know, you're picking and choosing. That itself, I think, is a lie. I think there's nobody near what you said that's interested. And if you have all these pick and chooses, why is it that Elaine Fiore, another person that likes to lie, had stated at Open Forum this past selectmen's meeting that they're going to go forward because they have enough business for 1 tank. The $28 million expansion is supposed to be able to have 2 tanks and reach out to Town and Country off of 53, stopping there and then going up to the mall. So if all these executives that want to come to Kingston, because it's such a great place to come to, and we have so much room to put them here, Why don't you already have this filled? Why don't you have the 28 million? Why is one thing that Elaine Fiore is now going to get a loan, not for the 28 million, even though she stated that nothing would be moved on with this expansion until the whole $28 million worth of new businesses and residents who want more capacity will then it be moved. So there's another lie. She's getting it done early to do maybe one. Again, I don't believe anything Elaine Fiore says anymore, because just recently in August she had a meeting with the water commissioners. Now the sewer expansion can't go forward without the water being able to cover the flow of what's going on at the, as Tom calls it, the old mall. Well, it's the same mall, just changed the name. But she recently went to a meeting with the water commissioners and offered the $3 million grant that we got from the state for economical development, that's the key word here, to give, of course, this was voted on at town meeting for the $28 million expansion. We were told that $3 million will be used towards the $28 million expansion, along with another $3 million grant that they supposedly filed for, and with another $3 million federal grant that they haven't even applied for. But take off the $9 million, and it makes it seem like it's a lot less money. But then again, only people using it will pay for it. Well, that's what they said when the Nook came down. But you know what? It's not the people who are only using the first two phases, because the town still pays. All the residents still pay. 25% of the town still pays for the sewer that we have right now. So, you know, it's listening to these lies, and they do it so well. They look at you, they'll give you the smile, and they'll lie right to your face.
We're not looking to build a bunch of lower-end businesses. We're looking to recruit and zone and permit and build very high-end businesses that create very good-paying jobs and generate substantial commercial tax revenue without ever undermining the cultural beauty of the town.
But low-end businesses. You're trying to get business in here. Now you're saying you want to get high-end that pays well. You can't do that. You can't pick and choose, and I guarantee you, you're not talking to people every day, and I guarantee you they're not businesses that are going to come in here and hire a lot of people and pick and choose where the pay is a high-end business. Yeah, that's another funny. You should have been a comedian, Tom. Really, we're gonna not undermine the cultural beauty of the town. I mean, can you talk or can you talk? You got to remember, you're not a politician anymore. You are a town administrator. You are just another employee of the town of Kingston, an employee, a contracted employee, but an overpaid employee, but just an employee. So why can't you just come out and plainly say that this is what we're doing? Why are you coming out and making it sound like it's such a fabulous thing that you're doing, which is not true? And the fact that if this $28 million project goes through, which again Elaine Fiore lied about when they were going to move it, if we don't get enough people, businesses or people, the town's the one that took the loan out. Who do you think is going to pay for it? The residents. So that's the problem I've always had from day one. We never should have voted. We should have waited till we have signed contracts, whatever it took to get this, before the town, the residents are on the hook for $28 million if we do not get enough business or residents that want more capacity.
Of the town, right.
So it's a very significant balance. It's the best job I've ever had, in spite of the multiple shots I may get on the internet every night.
You got multiple shots on the internet every day. Well, you know what? We do multiple shots because you come out and you micromanage the town. You're intimidating workers. You're a bully towards the town workers, and you lie. And you know what? If you want to sue me for saying that, it's the truth. It's the truth. You come out and you've had your little temper tantrums. The town, everybody in town hall knows about it. Nobody wants to speak about it because they're afraid of losing their jobs. And I don't know why they're afraid of you, Tom. You're nobody. You're just an employee. And yes, you have power over them for their jobs, but people are starting to see. People will start speaking up. So it's just remember, what goes around comes around, and I believe it's coming around. It's going to come around a lot sooner than you think.
I'm having the time of my life.
That's good.
And I'm blessed to have been to be reporting to a 5-member board of selectmen that they're bought into the mission.
Yeah.
They understand it. They listen so closely to our citizens. They understand the need to lower residential taxes.
Sure.
This is funny how you talk about a 5-member board, how they understand it. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand we need to lower the taxes. That in itself says you like to shine things up a little more than what they are. But the problem is between you, Elaine Fiore, and Joshua Warren, you don't share the information with 2 key selectmen. Shannon McFarland, she's been there for 12 years. She really hasn't done anything for the town other than write up the code of civility. So I kind of just phase her out because she's just an automatic rubber stamper for Elaine. And but you know what? You do not inform Tammy Murray or you do not inform Jessica Kramer. And you have to remember, you and Elaine, because you know what, Joshua Warren may be chairman, but he's only chairman in name only. We know he's the pawn that you've always wanted, and he's doing a great job for you with being your pawn. But this is not your town for you to decide or Elaine to decide. We have a 5-member board for a reason. 5 elected selectmen are supposed to be voting on everything. Not you and Elaine decide what's best for this town. If we wanted a 1 person or 2 people to run a town, we would have a town manager, which I know that's what you love to be, and I know that's what you're trying to be, but it's not going to happen. Or a mayor. So the thing is, we have to get the politician out of the town administrator's office, because everything you do is you have to sit back and figure out how you can find a way to get things done that you want done. But if it gets caught, you always have somebody else to blame for it.
Sure.
You had asked me at the beginning of before we came on air about where are we on our budget.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people love to talk about government spending.
Right.
Our current fiscal year 20 budget is $500,000 under the levy limit.
That's great.
Meaning we're under the
You're
limit
under
that
budget.
government allows us to spend without a 2.5.
Yeah.
And the budget process we just began for fiscal 21, which begins next July,
Mm-hmm.
our goal is to be even further under the levy limit,
Mm-hmm.
not by cutting services. We won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But by doing business differently so that we can be more efficient, we can get some economies of scale, and we can pass those dividends on to our residents.
There's another thing now. You're talking about the tax levy. We're $500,000 under the limit. Why aren't we $1 million on the limit? Why are we having taxes being raised? You make it sound like, well, we're only we're $500,000 under. We could go at $500,000 more. What? So let's just tax people more so you can buy more that we don't need. Your game here that you're playing with your words, people are seeing that you, like I said, you shine things up to make things sound good, but in reality, they suck.
That's great. I'm sure that's wonderful news to everybody. Let me just go back to your large commercial projects for one sec. So you have the wastewater and the water infrastructure as far as roads and traffic, and where are all these people going to live that work there?
Sure.
Those are always questions that, this is great, it's gonna give a great boon to the tax base, but what about those ancillary issues that come up?
Let me give you 2 examples of what we're doing to provide affordable living for the folks who we anticipate will be working in Kingston.
Okay.
2 locations. At Kingston Collection, we're working with Tremel Crow. As you look at the old mall, to the right is the big box Sears building.
Yep.
That will be replaced by 300 apartments, affordable apartments.
Okay.
You know, that's a good question. Where are all these people going to live with all these big commercial businesses you're going to get in town? Well, so far, all I've heard you talk about is a hotel with 300 apartments. So you're talking about commercial base increase so they can reduce our residential taxes, but you want to put 300 apartments at the old mall, which is an old mall, it's just a different change, a name change. So it's always been the mall that's been built there since it got built. But now they're going to be affordable apartments. Well, you're now increasing the residential services. Think about it, 300 apartments. So you're talking somewhere 1 to 2 bedrooms. So you're talking it could be, you know, an additional 800 residents.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Maple Street, right off the center of town, to where the old Kingston Fire Department was,
Yeah.
there's a oil contaminated site there, Herget Oil, that needs to be cleaned up, and it's gone downstream to impact the old fire department property as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with the state to get grant money to study and clean that site up. Once that site is cleaned up and storage is online, that whole site right now is permitted for 2 bathrooms. We'll be able to build a 200 unit over 55 gorgeous complex there, complete with underground parking, off-street parking, and we'll give our seniors a place to live and stay in Kingston that's affordable for them.
Right.
You know, and I got to tell you about the senior project that you talk about that, you know, was going to happen. I tell you what, you should be writing stories, because that's all this is a fake story. You know, first of all, if it does happen, which I know it won't, it won't happen because it's not, the area we are talking about doesn't have the capacity for what you want to do. It's, the water table can't handle something that, an underground garage, I believe. I mean, again, I'm not a engineer, but being that close to a river beside it and the ocean, you know, the water table is going to be really high. You can't do it. But as you're saying, you're making these 200 apartments so that people have spent years in Kingston in their own homes, they can have affordable housing. Think about it. You're going to have these seniors that have worked hard all their lives, who have paid their taxes all their lives, who are now getting taxed out of the homes because they're on a fixed income. And you're going to have an apartment for them to move into so they can still live in the town that they love to live in. Why not make it that they can still stay in their own homes, which is what their dream, the American dream is to have a home, work it, and then stay there until you pass away. You're taxing people out of their homes so you can build a place they can go live into, an apartment, just like the senior housing that they've made out of cinder block, and you think you're in a prisoner cell. When's the last time you've been there to see what they look like, to see what people live in? It's not a good place for a person who's worked hard all their life and supported this country, paid their taxes, to go live in a small cement block cubicle. So what you're talking about is nothing but blowing smoke up people's butt. That's all it is. Okay? And then again, even if it wasn't, which I know it isn't, I know it isn't true, but now you're talking about putting 200 more people in it. So now you get 500 apartments. And at 55 plus, so you're talking at least 1 or 2 people. So let's just say there's 300 more people. Okay? It ain't happening. You can't do it. Where's the commercial base you keep talking about that your charge was? You need to be truthful to the residents of Kingston, which you're not. Elaine Fiore needs to be truthful to the residents of Kingston, which she is not. When she got voted in, I supported Elaine in her position to become in as a selectman. Well, she came in as a selectman and got voted right in as chair and held that position for 5 years. The power went to her head. And she's a micromanager. She told me that herself. She's a micromanaging person. But now that she's retired, it must be the reason why she's at town hall every day, all day during work days, because you're out seeing all these CEOs every day. So we need somebody there to take your place. So even though she's just vice chair, she's at town hall all day, every work day, maybe to cover because you're not there because you're out with the CEOs. I don't know. You tell me.
That's right.
My goal is to build a type of high-tech, high-end, good-paying job type industries that allow them to stay in Kingston.
Yeah.
At the same time, our seniors are struggling to live in Kingston because of the increasing taxes.
Sure.
Our goal is to create affordable, high-quality living opportunities for them that will allow them
To downsize.
without living in Kingston.
Yeah, without leaving.
So
Yeah.
myself and the board are looking at the needs of the community from a very holistic perspective, and things are moving very quickly. And it's frankly, coming to work every day is exhausting.
There's something.
Well, I can imagine you're exhausted at the end of the day because it's very hard to keep lies straight. You tell the truth, it's so easy because it's the truth. You don't have to worry about going back and say, oh, what did I say to this person as a lie? What did I say to that person as a lie? You have to remember all this. So yeah, I can imagine it must be exhausting at the end of the day for you. But the truth, you'll be going home with a smile on your face, feeling good, everything else. But as you and Elaine Fiore both have to micromanage, you guys, I'm surprised. It's perfect. You have you guys running the town, even though it's one of the worst things I've seen in the town of Kingston since the 14 years I've been living here. So it's time. It's time to get back on what the people do.
There's something every day, something new.
But very exciting.
Yeah. Now, do any of these projects what is the permitting process for a large, huge company? Okay, we want to come in, we're going to build this massive building, and we're going to have 500 employees, and who has to sign off on this?
Eventually, Kingston Town Meeting.
Okay.
And so when Tremel Crow wanted to build the 300 units, we had to have a zoning overlay district created, brought it to town meeting, shared with them the overall plan, the overall vision, and town meeting overwhelmingly supported it.
Right.
If you look at the other property I just talked about where our old fire department was, that will require a zoning change.
Yeah.
And again, we will develop the plan, we'll bring the vision to town meeting, we'll have forums to explain everything well in advance. We're very committed to not only full disclosure, but open forums to ask difficult questions.
Sure.
And town meeting will weigh in on that. So if zoning is required, that's a function of town meeting, and our job is to bring the information and the comprehensive plan to the body so that they can make informed decisions.
So about town meeting and communication, I know a lot of towns struggle with presenting everything before town meeting, so that people go there armed with a lot of knowledge beforehand. Do you think that Kingston, or any town really, does that well enough? And is that one of the problems that leads to strife and miscommunication and misunderstandings about the objective or or how it's going to affect the town in the long run?
That's a great question. There are a lot of things that lead to the strife and the misunderstanding, and some of it, I'm sorry to admit, is purposeful on those that aren't interested in good information and don't try to get it. I can tell you in the last year, prior to our annual town meeting, we held forums on the articles. And our town meeting went from 4 days to, I believe, 2 days.
Right.
Because people were given the opportunity to fully vet the issues
Beforehand.
and ask questions beforehand.
Right.
We just got approved a $28 million borrowing for the treatment plant, and we conducted 2 forums where we did a presentation and answered all the questions directly.
And everyone is invited to those. Everyone who can vote in the town of...
Public meeting.
Yep.
And as you know, we got a near unanimous support.
Yeah.
Near unanimous support for that investment, for that project, because people understood it. Now,
Right.
having said that, there were still those
Yep.
at those public meetings who would continue to say that all citizens are going to pay for this, not the user group. When clearly it's the user group for this sewer plant that pay the user fees. There were those who suggested that we were going to run lines all the way up Route 27 to the Pembroke line. There was never any intention of doing that. So I would say that 99% of the citizens in any community, all they want is good, understandable, accurate, honest data.
Well, I gotta tell you, Tom, there's something you and I agree with. 99% of the residents, you know what you call them, citizens. To me, citizens is a citizenship of a country, and you have residents that live in a town or city. But yes, I agree with you. Can you imagine that? They want, 99% of them want accurate, honest data. Unfortunately, you don't give them that. You want to go out there and put the blame on the people on the internet. They don't want to have good information. They give misinformation. I got something to tell you, Tom. I come out and provide backup for everything I post about you lying on video, Elaine Fiore lying to the residents on video, and Joshua Warren lying to the residents of Kingston. So we do agree, but the problem is you don't supply what you just said.
And this board and this town administrator are absolutely committed to taking every action necessary to give them all of that. Then there's 1% that it doesn't matter what information you give them, they are going to say something very different to create the type of unrest.
I'm amazed that you, Tommy, can sit there and talk about the 1% that creates the unrest when it's people like you and Elaine Fiore and Joshua Warren that cannot tell the truth. You do what you want in the back door thing, and yet you're going to blame it on people like myself who will stand up with proof that you're lying, but you're saying that we're causing the unrest. The residents of Kingston need to see more. What's truly going on in this town. And where the problem is you. The problem is Elaine Fiore. The problem is Joshua Warren. You're the problem, not people like me. I'm not getting any out of it. I don't care. What I want, I've wanted for a lot of years, I want honest, transparent people who, the leaders of the town who actually care about the residents, not about yourselves, not with this Mary O'Donnell backdoor thing you tried with the oval pits. Here you are doing an RFP that is not authorized by anybody, including the town people, which is the final authorization. You write one up 6 months prior to May 2019 town election. Town meeting. And in that RFP stated it would be awarded 45 days. I get racing here, so because it bugs the hell out of me that this lies are coming out and half the people can't see it and the other half people won't say anything about it. But the 45 days after the cutoff date of the proposals were going to be awarded. Now, you didn't do that. So that made that null and void. Mary O'Donnell, obviously, she was very upset that she lost this deal. It was going to make her millions of dollars while the town of Kingston made a measly $4 million over 25 years. And then she had the nerve to call people like myself who did research with a lot of other people. A lot of people stood up against her. But she calls them disgusting because they told the truth. And then she comes out and says that they're jealous of a successful businesswoman. Hey, you know what, Mary O'Donnell? Have at it. Make millions and billions of dollars, but do it the right way. Don't screw the people over because you're such a selfish person.
Unrest that I guess marks our nation right now. It's not just our town, it's every town.
Well, and what I found really interesting in interviewing people all through these years is that everyone always has a different place from which they come. And you have to respect their right to have that this is how I view this, and I have a right to view it this way. But you're right in that if the majority of the town, if 97% of the people see things that, yeah, you know what, this makes more sense, then clearly that's our democratic, that's the way we run, and that's the process.
If people have good information and they vote against the project, man, nobody should begrudge them that.
Absolutely,
That's
because the
their
project
right.
had something wrong.
That's right. But Senator Patrick Moynihan once said that people are entitled to their own opinions, but they're not entitled to their own facts. And unfortunately, again, across America, we're dealing with people that have alternative facts, and they're not entitled to alternative facts. Facts are friendly. There's no good facts, there's no bad facts.
Facts are facts.
There are just facts. And what our society is dealing with right now is a concerted effort on behalf of some to spew misinformation.
If people can have good information and they vote against the project, when you start giving good information to them, then people will know and decide. But to come out and say the majority of the town, 140 to 200 people, are not the majority of the town. This is why town meeting is going to the side. It's no longer a good way to make decisions about the town. I can remember when I was 18 years old living in Halifax, I went to town meeting. We had to sit and wait. We had to call people up to come down and make a quorum. And then once they made the quorum and people left, nobody wanted to come up and say, hey, we don't have 100 people here, so we can't vote on the financial issues. Because they know it wouldn't get done. So, correct information, the day you start doing it, but you don't give information. You lie to people so they believe you. You go up there with a smiling face and, hey, you know what, I'm your friend, and I'm only going to tell you the truth, and as soon as they turn around, you're going up to somebody else telling them a totally different thing.
And the only way we deal with that is we invite people to come in unannounced at any time for any reason and ask for information, and they'll get it. They don't even need to go through a public records request. Listen, we work for the citizens of Kingston.
Exactly.
We pay their bill. If they pay our bill, I'm sorry, our salary. If there's something they need, we're more than happy to give it to them. And if there's a complicated issue, we will break it down into its simplest parts. That's our job.
What have you
Uh, I love it. I love it. Tom Calter is always out there. You want my information? Come to my office, and I'll tell you. That's a great thing, Tom. Let me clap my hand for you for that. That's a great thing. The thing is, you want to give the information where it's not known to the public. If you can sit down, you know what? I'm going to challenge you, or not even the word challenge. I want to sit down in public, on PACTV, live on Facebook, and let's discuss the facts. And let you come out in public say what you're saying now. Because I'll have 20 people who will step up with facts and say you're lying. And and I'll tell you what, but I know you won't do it. Why? Because one, you know you're wrong. Two, you are not man enough. You come off as a tough guy. You know, you verbally attack me. I stand up for myself, and next thing you know, you have a report coming from your town lawyers saying that I was the one getting physical. I could have gotten physical. All lies. I've never been arrested. I've never done anything physical to anybody that didn't warrant it. By defending myself, I will defend myself, but I will not get physical. I am not a physical person. I will not get physical because you want to come out and start calling me names and then lie to your town councilors about what happened. You're a joke. And you know what? Like I said to you that night you attacked me, go back to the State House with the rest of the criminals because that's all they are. They don't care about the residents. They don't care about the residents of Massachusetts. You don't care about the residents of Kingston. And if people want to get upset because I'm speaking my mind, then so be it. People don't like the truth. It's the truth, though. And if you can't stand the truth, as they say, if you can't stand the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen. All you're going to do is destroy the meal. And that's what you're doing now.
What have you learned by doing forums about the people of Kingston or about the way you do forums? What have you learned?
I've learned that the people of Kingston, just like as I represented the 12th Plymouth District, there were 6 towns, they're very bright. Mm-hmm. Don't ever underestimate them. Mm-hmm. And when they understand the information, when they validate that information and find it to be true, they make very, very good decisions and very informed decisions. Mm-hmm. Don't ever take the people of Kingston's opinions for granted.
Right.
Because they'll straighten you right up real quickly. And that's what I've always been proud of. I've represented Kingston in the legislature for 12 years and then as a town administrator for almost a year and a half. Yeah. Every day I marvel at the capacity of our citizens to understand and to sort out complex information. Yeah.
You know, you talk about how the residents, you're amazed at how the residents can come out. You know, don't go by them because, you know, they're really sharp and they're watching. But we go up to speak at the selectmen's meeting. You have a police officer there now every time. People cannot get up there and say, you don't like what they're saying? Like me? You had Brad Norman call 911. Why? Because I wouldn't stop speaking. I wasn't being violent. I wasn't being physical. I wasn't being anything but cordial and speak. Yet you jump up, you tell Brad Norman to call 911. He calls 911, and I got the recording. He lies about the 911, about what's going on. And then next, you know, we have 3 cruisers flying to the town hall because they think something major is happening. And all I did was keep talking because I could not get a response from you. I could not get a response from Joshua Warren. Whether you like me or not, you need to respond. You have to deal with me. I don't care for you or Joshua Warren, but I'm dealing with you in a civil manner, which you were incapable of doing at least 50% of the time. 50% of the time. So, the town is at its lowest point right now, and in order to change it, we need to make change within. You're hurting the town. Elaine Fiore is hurting the town. Joshua Warren is hurting the town. As I said to the email, you three are the cancer of Kingston. And the only cure we have is the residents who will open their eyes and see what you're doing to this great town. And they will be the cure once they open up and see. And I hope it happens soon. So, you know, to come up here and say all this stuff about, you know, we're doing well, I got a great team behind me. You don't have a team. You have two people. One's your pawn, the other one is your partner in crime, let's say. Because you know Elaine Fiore is out there doing meetings without the knowledge of her board. Having meetings, making decisions without the other 5 people of the board, the other 4 people of the board that's supposed to be doing it. The town has gotten so bad. It's like it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
I know I was lucky enough to sit on I keep getting the name of this wrong, the Municipal Vulnerability Study panel that Kingston had a grant that happened last fall.
We hosted that.
Yeah, that you hosted, and it's all about finding out what are your vulnerabilities for climate change and for hurricanes and for all kinds of infrastructure in your water system and your first responders. And what was the best thing that came out of that?
There were a number of things that came out of that summit that we continue to work on today. Since that summit, we have developed and perfected our emergency response plans for sheltering in place, storm-related projects, power outages, literally a step-by-step with every phone number and every contact person we would need to reach. We've developed through our Council on Aging a list of seniors that don't have home phones that we can call their cell phones. We have a list of seniors that have voluntarily shared with us medical information that will need attention during difficult times.
Yep.
And we will proactively go out and take care of them.
Sure.
We've developed ALICE training for intruders at Town Hall.
You gotta love it, a summit. We're not talking about worldwide crises here, but a summit. You had meetings to discuss, which should have been in place already. Which when we had the Storm Nemo, you were our so-called state rep, showing up trying to give orders to everybody. We had a lot of people at the, not the intermediate, but the elementary school, volunteering. People came in to cook. I came in, whatever you needed me to do, whatever Sue Munford needed me to do, I did it. I went out and I came and I cooked in the morning. I went out during the storm and I knocked on people's doors to make sure they were okay and they had a place to go to. You show up and you act like you're the man in charge. You weren't the man in charge. Tom, the list that you're just describing, we've already had. We had with Storm Nemo. We had people, that's why I went and I did check on the seniors to make sure they were okay. They had the list. They had all this before. You're taking credit for something that you have not done. And to be honest, that really ticks me off because you are still a politician.
We have twice a month management training to prepare for the unforeseen and the unforeseen conditions that we're responsible for planning for and developing an action item for.
Yeah.
I think if there's one word that could characterize Kingston in the past year, it's training. We consistently train so that we can be better next year than we are this year.
Yeah.
It's budget training.
Yeah.
It's financial management training. It's training on best practices as put forth by the MMA.
Training, training, and training. What is there to train for at town meeting? At town hall. What is there to train for at town hall? How can you get better by this so-called training? What is there to be trained for? You know, the assessor's office is in a mess. You make the town accountant in charge of the assessor's office, which in my opinion had no authority to do that whatsoever. I don't believe that the Board of Assessors voted on to allow it. And then you give this woman, and I have nothing against Carol, I don't know her, but you give this woman the title of finance director, and now she's making $103,000 a year for doing nothing different than what she did prior to getting the new title. When they wanted to make this new title up, the finance director, I was against it because I said, you come up with a title like that, they're going to want more money for it. They're not doing any different than the accountant. I have no problem with people making money, and we all want to make as much money as we can. But to have people in positions that don't do anything different, will not better the town by giving them more money, shouldn't be. Again, $80,000. There's so many people making over $80,000 now, and yet you got our elected officials, and I'll tell you right now, the treasurer is an important position, very important. Town clerk, very important. Tax collector, very important. Yet they get the smallest amount of raises, and they're making a lot less than what these other so-called management people are making. It's wrong. It needs to be changed.
You know, we talked about this before it came on today too. The role of town administrator, town manager.
There you go. You just screwed up. The role of town manager. You're not town manager. You are a town administrator. You are just an employee. And I know that burns you every time I say it. You're nobody but another town employee. You are not a town manager, and you will never be town manager of Kingston. So you can think it, you're going to portray it, but it's going to come back at you. People are talking, people speak up, and I won't be surprised if you don't pull another Bob Fennessy and go out because of stress. Because once this opens up, the dam's going to open up and it's going to flood you with all the things you've done wrong, all the things you've done illegal.
And thank you again for watching PCN.